hip to be on the internet right now. It's crypto only, mate. I would not touch crypto in a million years. Crypto.
The United States will be the crypto capital of the planet.
We're all together. We're all one.
Okay, where's the gold?
For the first time in the human race, we have unleashed a freedom virus.
Oh God, why are people listening to me? I'm just a guy.
Let's go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Top Signal Show 2026, the big year. We're going to see it come back, right? We're excited for it. This show is where we down everything that's happening in crypto, the top signals that are trending, showcase the latest tools on OKX, and of course, invite on some of the top incredible minds in the space. Really excited for our guest today. But first, Kamsky, how's it going? How was your Christmas break?
I'm so excited to be back. Hi, everyone. I feel honestly we took a 2 weeks break and it felt so long. I haven't taken a holiday in so long, but at some point I just really felt the need to come back. And I really love our little rendezvous every Wednesday. Well, today was a special episode on Thursday, but I was really missing and dying to come back. So I'm super excited to get back and plug in into the markets and look at everything that's been happening. We have so many news. And again, we are starting the year with an incredible guest. So yeah, I'm super happy to see you again.
Yeah, it's so good to be back. Yeah, it felt weird the past couple of weeks not doing the show. So yeah, I'm really excited. And in advance, I've gone ahead and slated some of the most incredible, insane lineup of guests, and I'm just so happy to be starting this year's show off with one of my favorite research in this space, Alex Thorn. So we're going to be bringing him up in a few minutes. Alex is going to be covering his 2026 predictions with us. He's head of firm-wide research at Galaxy. And so really excited to hear his takes on the market structure, everything that's happening. I think there's been a lot of questions around what's up with the 4-year cycle. Is it dead? Is it over? What's 2026 going to be all about? What's up with price action? AI, so many different topics that we get to cover on the show with him today. So definitely pull up in the chat, bring your questions. We're excited to hang with you. So thanks everyone. I see you tuning in. And feel free to also be sure to retweet the show, share it with friends, get people to pull up in the chat as well if you guys want to get a take on what's happening for 2026. And yeah, with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's top signals happening in the markets. Actually, Grayscale recently published their 2026 digital asset outlook. This is something they publish every year. And it's a 32-minute read, but I'm just going to break it down real quick for you some of the things that I was pulling out from it that I thought were interesting. Yeah. This is a quick 1 minute, 2 minute TLDR. Basically, it seems in general we're transitioning from a very speculative, experiential crypto era ushering into an institutional era. So what does that actually look like? This is sounds like this is pretty much the end of a 4-year price cycle, and we're seeing this in the first week of January. We're officially breaking out of this 4-year cycle. We're not seeing these trends that we've seen in past cycles come through. I'm sure there's some speculation around there. We'll see how things continue to develop. Oh my goodness. I think I also may have forgotten to read our legal disclaimer. Did I read it? I don't think I read it.
It's never too late for a nice little. It's never too late for the legal.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Everything shared on this show is for informational purposes only and reflects our guests' own views, not necessarily those of OKX. This is not financial advice. Crypto is risky. So always, everyone, do your own research. But that's why we're also bringing on some of the top researchers today. Anyway, back to Grayscale. They were saying that this is the end of the 4-year cycle and an integration into blockchain into the main financial infrastructure, which is pretty exciting. I mean, this is kind of what a lot of us came to crypto in the first place. We want to see this adoption, and we believe in some of the core functionalities of blockchain technology. So to me, this is going to be pretty exciting. It's not just about speculative price action and rugs and scammers anymore. This is going to be about seeing real value into the ecosystem. So it really seems to be driven by 2 pillars: overall demand for this store value, and also finally more improved regulative clarity. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. We're seeing a lot of stablecoin growth after this Genius Act got passed. And what this means for OKX is really we're shifting into more yield-bearing stablecoin products. So I'm really excited about that. Already, if you're in the US and you're parking your USDG stablecoins with us, you're getting 5% APY. So pretty awesome. We're also looking into we're going to see more RWAs, more asset tokenization. And that's something we're also working towards with regulatory distinctions between utilities and securities crystallize. We're also seeing investors look at more sustainable revenue and less at these hype tokens. So yeah, I'm excited to see this new age develop. And okay, super fun fact also that they highlighted is that this March, the 20 millionth Bitcoin is going mined. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, what does that mean?
20 million, that's insane.
I know. Is it the end? But actually, we have 1 more million Bitcoins left to mine after the 20 million. So there's 21 million total. So that'll be the 20th million. We'll have 1 million left to mine, but no need to panic because we will probably not be alive by then unless we're all like Brian Johnson's here. We've got about another 140 years left to mine 1 millionth Bitcoin. So still generational wealth thing here. If you're still buying Bitcoin, it'll be, I guess, our great grandkids who get to see that last millionth mined. Anyway, can't
Well, you
see
have
over
to keep
to you. I
it
know
for
there's
the future. Yeah, I mean, you have to keep Bitcoin for the future generations. And one thing about Bitcoin is that it is very much seen in certain cases as definitely an alternative to the dollars. And in cases such as what we're living now, as there's a lot of political uncertainty, we're seeing definitely a move towards Bitcoin. And obviously, as crypto and hodlers, we're definitely hoping for more and more people to kind of recognize Bitcoin as digital gold, which was obviously a
Right.
narrative that it's not new, but in situations like, for example, the whole Maduro situation, the Trump administration came in, they imprisoned Maduro, and suddenly, I mean, there's big rumors of him and the government having, I'm not sure exactly of the number, but it was something around like hundreds of thousands of worth of bitcoins, and might be seized by the U.S. government. How is this going to be affecting the market? We don't know. It's not. These are sources that are not verified, so I guess we will be investigating and following up on the news. But it's a very interesting time where you definitely see countries resorting to Bitcoin as having an alternative, right, to the dollar, especially in countries that are affected by hyperinflation and these very uncertain political situations, right?
Right.
But
The rush to hard assets.
yes, exactly. And then one thing I wanted to mention that is pretty crazy that's happened recently is that a lot of the Zcash team has left, and the price plummeted 20%. I want to show you a funny tweet that I saw from Toli. Let me share my screen.
Insane. Like,
Let me share my screen. And we've had Mert on stream a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. I can't take track of time.
I know. I like flew first class to his timeline. I was like, what is he saying? What is he saying? Because he was talking about Zcash on the show. And I was like, maybe I'll get some. This is really fascinating use case. Okay, this is really interesting. So now I'm like, I wonder what people are saying to
Right? And
we love
same,
you, Mert.
we've had David also. We were talking about privacy, why Zcash, not Monero, and the privacy conversation is really hot. I mean, we've recently also seen the Aztec raise. So seeing this is it's quite shocking, I would say, entertaining in some kind of ways as well, unless you're heavily invested, of course. But yeah, just again, a reminder that crypto is a very, very volatile asset class, and you just never know, and where everybody's wondering where Mert is. On the other hand, the trenches have been hot, and there's been, we've been seeing a resurgence in the trenches. Not saying, obviously, like the general sentiment in the market does not necessarily push for, or is feeling like, we're going to see a resurgence of a meme coin super cycle, like a lot of people are hoping to see. But we've definitely been seeing some meme coins like pump, and we finally saw some meme coins hit like 100 million market caps, which hasn't been seen in a long time. I'm going to change screens and share. Let me show you some meme coins that I've been looking at. We have here on the OKX DEX. It is coming up. Yes, perfect.
Pepe.
All right. So White Whale has hit 100 mil, like insane. We haven't seen this in a very long time. Oh wait, it's not. Let me bring it back up. Is it sharing? Sorry, we're just having. Okay, 1 second. My screen should be coming back up in a second.
Do I need to click add to screen? Add to scene. I see add to scene. Okay.
Okay, here we go. A White Whale. I mean, what a rally. Like, this coin hasn't, it hasn't stopped. I think a lot of us are sidelined. My screen is back down again, but anyway, there you go.
Oh, here we
It's
go.
coming back up.
Oh my
By the
goodness.
way, this is the OKX DEX. Really cool if you want to look into more, meme coins, and you want to look into the trenches. Like, this is the best place to be. You can see all the people that have tweeted about
And
White
you can
Whale.
remove that feature too if you don't want to see all the little bubbles of everyone tweeting. I know that can be overwhelming, but it is also fascinating to see where people are tweeting and how price action correlates to those tweets.
Here, display, you can see influencers, you can see snipers, where the devs sold and bought, which is really cool when you're trying to catch early stage or like very early tokens that are just live from and graduated from Pump Fun. but yeah, you can see White Whale has been, non-stopping. We've also seen coins like Popcat, Pump. You've had, I think, like Pepe was leading the way. This reached almost like a 50% increase. Look at this. It did retrace a little bit, but regardless, we did see some life in the trenches, which also always feels good. This is Zcash. Not looking too good. And then this, I
Wild.
don't remember what this is. I'm not sure what this is, but anyways, yeah, like some life in the trenches. Is this a comeback? But either way, if you look at from the beginning of the year to now, we are in the green. We've seen strengths all over the markets, not just in crypto. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what the rest of the year has in store. And I know there's a big bill that might be discussed and passed next week. So definitely something that we'll chat about with Alex. And also, I'm curious to hear his perspective on where we're going this year. And yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
close my screen sharing and super excited to get Alex on.
Yeah, let's bring him up. I'm gonna give a little intro to Alex. Alex is, as he's coming on stage, Alex is one of the sharpest minds in the crypto research sector. He's covering everything from macro trends and market structure to emerging narratives. And before Galaxy, Alex, you were at Fidelity as a venture capitalist, so you have a really unique lens also in traditional finance and how that world is colliding with crypto today. You're also the co-host of Galaxy Brains, and which is a fantastic podcast. If you haven't checked it out, go run to YouTube. Alex, thanks for joining Top Signal. Welcome.
Yeah, Camilla, Elizabeth, thanks for having me. Great to be here. I loved your commentary there about some life in the trenches. There has been, for sure. I've seen that over the last couple of days. You know,
We
things
love
can
to
be.
see it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just, I feel like people are starting off the year a bit more optimistic than we closed the year, right? We kind of had a limp to the finish there in Q4. Bitcoin, pretty much the only major asset that finished the year down. And that meant, though, that if you were trying to sell for tax loss harvesting, you only had Bitcoin you could sell, right? Like equities, everything else finished higher, so you can't sell them at a loss, right? Like but everyone at this point pretty much owns some Bitcoin, and that was the only asset on their dashboard that finished the year down. So it was the only thing you could sell for tax loss harvesting. Everything else
Oh
was up.
gosh.
But once the year started over again, I think it made a lot of sense that we saw a nice pump to, where did you get 94 on Bitcoin, and of course that trickled down throughout the other assets. So
Right.
you
A
know,
nice surge.
a nice little start to the year. I mean, we're back over 90 as we speak now, which is nice. I think when I woke up this morning, we were like in the 88, 89 range again.
Yeah.
That feels a little bit like purgatory at this point, right? Like, can we, which
Totally.
way Bitcoin? Like, are we going to go higher or lower? I'd prefer one of those two than just like grind forever,
I mean, that month, like just grinding horizontally, in a way, to be honest, it was really nice because when do we ever get to take a break
you're totally
and
right.
not look at the charts? It was quite like relaxing in a way. I personally was able to go for a few days on vacation and not take my laptop. Like that
Yeah,
did not happen. So,
that was
but now
nice.
it can start pumping again, now we can
Yeah.
start moving.
Yeah, we're
We're
back. We're
ready.
back in 26.
Yeah.
We're ready for the what was that, a video? Like, we gotta welcome the pump into our life, like,
Yes.
you're totally right. By the way, it was nice over the holidays. Nothing happened. So we actually got to relax a little bit. But people forget, in 2024, after the Bitcoin ETFs launched, they launched January 11th, 24. Bitcoin went sideways between 40 and 60K for 270 days.
Oh
People
my
might
God, that's almost
they remember the ETFs launched in the beginning and the Trump election and subsequent pump in the fall, but they forget that from like February to November, it was absolute grind the entire year. And I hope that's not our fate in 26, but I worry it
Totally.
totally could be, though. We got to prepare.
Well,
That's the word. You got to prepare for, things going lower, sure. But what people forget to prepare for is the mind destroying grind sideways.
I mean, I think that's one of the main things reasons why I wanted to bring you on the show today, Alex, is like, what is the status of this 4-year cycle? I was just talking earlier on the show about Grayscale's outlook, basically saying that they think it's over and we're ushering to this new era of institutional restructuring, looking at store values, core credible value. And it seems like kind of investors have evolved and leveled up. I think people really have a better sense of what blockchain technology has to offer to society and to our economic ecosystem. But yeah, what's your take? I think I saw you guys, you mentioned something like, it's like impossible to predict right now what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
It's chaos.
Well, I think empirically the 4-year cycle is, I mean, from a pure technical standpoint, it is currently invalidated because it was the year leading in, the year of, and the year after the halving green yearly candles, and then it was green, 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 red had been is the actual 4-year cycle, and by finishing last year red, we've done something materially different. So I don't know if that doesn't mean there won't be cyclicality to Bitcoin price, and frankly, we're seeing it now. Is it the end of the 4-year cycle? Do we just pull it forward a year? A bit of a retrace or correction, or however you want to describe what we're experiencing now. I do think that, like, the initial 4-year cycle is caused by the halving, right? Like when Bitcoin halves from 50 BTC per block to 25 BTC per block in the first halving, that's a significant supply growth reduction, right? It's by half and it's large. Now, the last halving was from 900 to about 450 coins a day. Like that's nothing. Like that's nothing in daily Bitcoin volume. It has no material impact. It's not a real supply event any longer. It's so small. You guys were talking about how, Elizabeth, you were talking about how, we're about to mine the 20 millionth coin. Like people don't realize this, but 95% of all BTC has been mined, and in just 10 years, 99% will have been mined. So like, yeah, it'll take till 2140 or so for the last coin to be mined, but actually it's basically done. And in 10 years it'll be almost completely done. Like, so it's very scarce.
Right.
But that cyclicality, so it's not halving related. There is business cycle cyclicality in markets generally, but I think Grayscale is right here. The reality is that Bitcoin is an institutionally owned macro asset, partly because of the ETFs, which are widely owned. Even though Bitcoin was down 30% from its all-time high, the net inflows in ETFs, in the US Bitcoin ETFs, were only down 9% from their all-time high. So ETF holders largely held, right? Like they were bullish and long. So, and you're only going to get an asset that's more widely held in that manner, right? Like this thing has crossed the chasm from early to middle. And
Do you think we're going for less fluctuations? As in, we're definitely not going to be seeing the same gains as we did, 7.
Yeah, that's kind of sad. Like we all wished we were, buying and mining Bitcoin in 2010 when it was like 5 cents. Sure, like we all wish we had done that, but I think it's fair to say those years are over. The last, there might not be I'm pretty sure there's not 100x left in Bitcoin, right? It might just be a 2 to 10x over a longer period of time, but that's good. That's what winning looks like. That's what you've now got, an asset that's like gold that has way better other fundamental features that it's liquid enough for real money to own. Like that's, I
gold, we don't know how much is left to mine. It's unknown, versus Bitcoin. I mean, it just is a constant reminder that we have so much scarcity there, and it's verifiable scarcity.
Yeah, I think.
What do you think of the? Sorry, what do you think of the Maduro, Venezuela Bitcoin debacle?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any on-chain evidence that Venezuela has Bitcoin or that it's been seized or anything like that. So, as far as I know, this is basically just pure speculation based on news reports that said that Venezuela had probably accepted payment for oil and other things in cryptos like USDT or Bitcoin. That's the basis of the entire discussion. I would say, like, if they do have Bitcoin, then they should keep it. The Venezuelan people should own that Bitcoin. Surely we shouldn't be, capturing heads of state to steal their country's Bitcoin as a country. That's not a good thing, right? So if they have Bitcoin, it should stay with the Venezuelan people. And by the way, every country should have coin. So
it's it's not the first time the US has gone in and seized a large amount of Bitcoins, right?
Yeah, well, that's true. And there was another interesting one. I think in October, a federal indictment in the US was unsealed that showed the US had seized 127,000 BTC from the Prince Group and Lubian Mining, which is this like weird, sketchy Cambodian mining business that also was deeply involved in butchering, which is the scam where you like catfish somebody and eventually get them to send you money. And we seized all this. The U.S. seized all this Bitcoin, and then yesterday, the leader of that pig butchering thing, this guy Chen Shi, was arrested in Cambodia and extradited to China. So that he won't be extradited to the U.S. now. I think the Chinese have him, and we found another 30K BTC or so that he probably controls. So there is this like new thing in the world where countries that arrest criminals that hold Bitcoin, they might end up taking the Bitcoin for the country and holding it. It's very
I mean,
strange,
Silk
interesting,
Road, right?
Well, I mean, and look, I mean, there are these sinks and faucets, right? Like a faucet is something that spits out assets, and a sink soaks it up, right? And like these overhangs of seized Bitcoin can be really rough faucets for the industry because they eventually get puked back into the market. Like the Germans that sold all the BTC, or the Silk Road coins, or the Mt. Gox coins, right? These are overhangs, supply overhangs for the market that scare traders. And so maybe this new trend, but in this new world, we have more sinks. We got the ETFs, which are soaking up a lot of coins. And perhaps if governments start just strategically holding Bitcoin that they seize, then maybe that's a new development where it won't be a supply overhang when, some criminal that has Bitcoin is captured. So interesting
Do you know if
development.
is there any regulation around this sort of like management of assets at the moment? I know there is a big bill that's being discussed right now, and there's quite a lot of fuss around it. I was wondering if you could give us a bit of a TLDR on what to expect, and about that, is there any rules for countries what to do with their coins?
So, I mean, there is no such thing like at a hard, in a hard line as international law. So, like, countries can do whatever want to do. What you do maybe have are norms, international norms. I don't know, for example, is China allowed to keep the coins if they capture them from the sky? I don't know. That's Chinese law or whatever. I can tell you about the U.S., where we obviously have that executive order from President Trump ordering that seized coins not be sold, but it's actually, it's not that simple. There are federal laws about what the government needs to do when they seize assets. So it's not like, and no president can just write those away with a bill. So I would say remains to be seen. The interesting thing happening now in Congress is this market structure bill, which is the idea. You had the Genius Act, which passed in July, which is a stablecoin bill, stablecoin law that legalizes and codifies rules for stablecoins in the U.S. But then you have this other big package of legal issues called crypto market structure, which is, I would say, primarily about which types of tokens are regulated by which regulator in which circumstances. That's the main sort of But, if we can get that clarity, then that would be very bullish for, just institutional adoption of crypto, because now they know even with more certainty that, Bitcoin's a commodity and this other one's a security, and here's how we are allowed to do it. However, that's kind of like it's like a Christmas tree bill. Like people are hanging ornaments on it, right? Like it's got a lot of other stuff on it as well. Like
They
that's
keep
sort of
adding on top of it, right?
that's
It's the
right.
clarity bill that
So
was passed in July
that's right.
2025 last year. No,
Yeah. So the
yeah.
clarity passed the House, but the Senate is working on its own version. And yeah, it's ostensibly is just supposed to be about that jurisdictional like push and pull for which assets are regulated by the SEC or the CFTC, but people are hanging a lot of other issues on it. And some of the big issues that are causing debate and negotiation, probably the biggest is DeFi. How to handle DeFi, if at all, right? Like, should DeFi developers, should they have to register as, banks, or on the other side, should they be totally protected from regulation if it's decentralized? Like, that push and pull, that's probably, in my view, the most important issue that's being debated. It's not quite clear where that's going to come out. Like hawkish national security types, including some Democrat, opposition to the bill, they want like DeFi developers to have to like register with FinCEN and do Bank Secrecy Act compliance and KYC everybody and blah, 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 right? Or, have to adhere to sanctions rules. But I think the crypto side of the argument is, well, look, if it is decentralized, it certainly can't do that. You could say that it has to do that, but it won't be able to do that. So now you'll just be making a bunch of stuff illegal, even though it can't do it, right? So like, it's not quite clear, by the way, where that's going to land. And like, we're supposed to find out probably next Thursday some information.
Yeah, it's in a week, huh?
January
It's coming.
15th. Yeah, the Senate Banking Committee is supposed to hold a markup on this bill. And what that means is they're literally going to really do the language, and we're going to see like where this has landed, and then they're going to vote inside the committee, and we'll learn whether Democrats are coming along, like, or whether it's going to be just a partisan thing. So we don't know, but that's a big one, is how they're going to handle DeFi. That's, I think there's some red lines there for crypto, obviously. Like, you know, you can't make a decentralized software developer responsible for the actions of the user of the decentralized app. Like, that's obviously a red line for crypto. And there are a couple others. I think that's the most interesting thing that's going to happen in this bill. I think when it comes to like what's a security and what's a commodity, like no one quite cares so long as they actually like. We would, by the way, we would have loved. You know, Gary Gensler said that 99% of cryptos were securities. That wouldn't have been a problem if we were able to go into the SEC and trade it as a security. But then they'd also didn't allow that, right? Like. So theoretically, I don't think the industry cares ultimately that much, like which is a commodity and which is a security, so long as there's a viable path for both, right? You just tell us what the rules are, we'll go comply with them. Like the problem was last time they said you're breaking the rules, and we, okay, cool, what are the rules? And they were like, we're not telling you.
They didn't know.
And we're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? So
What do you think?
yeah.
So you mentioned obviously Democrats are making it a little bit more complicated and want to put like higher, let's say like level of regulation and so on for participants and builders. Like objectively, do you think, or like from what we've seen, is the Trump administration, has it been like good for crypto overall? Has it been a net positive for the space or not? Because there's definitely been a debate, right? And obviously tied to the price action of Bitcoin and the performance of crypto as an asset class compared to the other ones. Like at the end of the day, like has the Trump administration really been positive? Also, let's not forget the Trump coin that nuked all the meme coin market. I'm curious on, what's your position? What's your take on this?
I would say undeniably yes, it's been positive, and I know that like there's plenty of caveats to that. You're not wrong. You know, the whether it's the president and his family's personal interest in the space, or like, you know, it is hard to look at everything they actually accomplished, which was vast. That's why I say undeniably yes. Like the actual changes in policy have been undeniably great and supportive for the crypto industry. So then why did Bitcoin finish lower on the year, right? I mean, like obviously something wasn't great, right? Like, and do we blame that on the administration or some other factors? And I tend to think it's other market factors that are really to blame for why Bitcoin, you know, for example, enormous amount of the OG whale selling last year, you know, attention diverted from Bitcoin and crypto by things like AI and quantum and gold, right? Like Bitcoin and crypto generally are very like momentum driven assets, right? And like, so if it's not like what you think about last year or 24 after the president's reelection, long Bitcoin was like the most popular trade in the entire world. Like everyone knew after Trump was elected, everyone in all investor classes long Bitcoin there, right? Like it was the hottest trade in the world. That just wasn't the case. Like, you know, halfway into the end of the year, people were working on AI. Gold was up 30%, right? Like there were other places to put your money, and there's an opportunity cost to investing. It wasn't, in my view, because of the president or the administration. In fact, like I could take down a giant list of concrete actions this administration has taken that are supportive of the Bitcoin and crypto industry. I won't beleaguer this live stream with that list, but like it was vast, from the market regulators, the banking regulators, the SBR, like they did a lot. So I think they deserve credit for that.
Do you think with the Genius Act passed, do you think there's a world where stablecoin volume and clarity and this adoption that we're seeing now finally with institutions or ETFs, do you think there's going to be like a mass stablecoin adoption, and there's a world where we might even see this volume surpass transactions, for example? I mean, for sure, maybe with institutional.
Yeah, I think
lens.
absolutely. I think, look, anyone who's ever sent a wire or an ACH and also sent a stablecoin knows that the stablecoin user experience is so much better. Like
100%.
I paid my taxes, I sent a wire to the IRS, and then I got a letter a week later saying I hadn't paid my taxes. Like not only did I not have like step-by-step update on whether the wire had been delivered, which I did not get, they also didn't even realize they'd received it and later told me I owed them more money, which was wrong. And then a month later, I got another letter saying, actually, you're right, we found the wire. Like that is like an insane UX in 2026 Like it's
So
crazy.
complicated letters.
So,
Can we talk
yeah.
about like, I'm not going to get into the paper letters.
I think that you're going to see both the overt adoption of stables where you know it and you're happy about it, but even more so, like you're going to send money ways that look normal. Ask your bank to send money to the other bank account, and it's gonna be stables in the background you might not even know. Like, so I think they're gonna be widely adopted because it's an undeniably better technology for payments. That's why you see every bank, every credit card provider, every card network and payments and fintech company, everyone working on stables.
Finally.
It's just an idea whose time has come. Like, it's obviously a good idea. And by the way, the Genius Act makes stablecoins like significantly safer than basically bank deposits. Like, they're fully over collateralized and bankruptcy remote in the stablecoin context. Banks hold they're not currently required to hold any of the assets in reserve, right? You're getting safety from a U.S. bank account because of FDIC insurance, but that only insures it up to $250K. And by the way, we all know that if all the banks go down at the same time, there's not even remotely enough money in the FDIC insurance fund to cover that. Every stablecoin is over collateralized with treasuries, like every single one, right? So like under the Genius Act framework, I mean, not necessarily everyone in the world. They're going to be extremely safe. Like, so it's a better.
Could those
tech with
treasuries
more safety.
crash in some way if the banks went down? Like if
Yes, but the
let's say
treasuries
banks,
are
then
dollar
the treasuries.
denominated. I mean, to be clear, if the treasuries crash, that means the dollar is going to
Yeah,
go down in
yeah,
value.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the stable will still
mean-
track the dollar. So like it's,
Oh, true.
oh, don't get me wrong. The dollar is going down over time. It has already gone down 99%. But what's that phrase? It can always go down another 99%. That's going to be the dollar for sure. People don't even realize just since COVID, in just using CPI terms, since 2020, the dollar's lost 25% of its purchasing power just in 5 years. That's only using the top line CPI number. If we look at things like
Wow.
food and housing or commodities, it's down way more. Like, people don't realize how much fiat money
Jeez.
debases. It debases an
Which
enormous
means-
amount.
Yeah.
Which means the market and other assets will keep appreciating just
And
because
that's
they're
right.
dollar
Well,
denominated.
Bank
and
of
that-
America apparently just made it so that their advisors can now let their clients have up to 4% and like advise up to 4% in Bitcoin ETFs.
Well, and
So
that's
we're
an important
definitely
point
seeing that
because,
trend.
yeah, stable coins don't solve the fact that the fiat currency is debased over time, right? Only Bitcoin and other scarce commodity assets can solve that. And so it's really important that, and by the way, the jig is up. People were like denying that the U.S. like fiscal and debt problem was a real problem for years. They're not denying it anymore. Like in April during the tariff tantrum, S&P went down more than 10%. Obviously, Bitcoin, remember, nuked to like 74. That was the first time of the prior 13 times that the S&P 500 lost 10% or more, and the dollar didn't appreciate, right? So when the risk assets went down, the prior 12 times, people bought dollars, right? They sold their risk assets for dollars. So the dollar went up during the deleveraging event. In April of 2025, the dollar went down. So people sold their risk assets for something other than dollars. They were looking for a non-dollar denominated hedging asset. It's part of the reason gold ripped so hard last year. Like the jig is up. That Wall Street is calling the U.S. federal government's bluff now. Like the national debt matters finally. And in that environment, owning Bitcoin makes a lot of sense. So it's not
Right.
surprising that B of A, I saw Morgan Stanley's also done the same thing, basically taken their advisors off the leash and allowed them to recommend an initial Bitcoin allocation. People need to own scarce commodity assets in a world where even the best reserve currency is being, tossed aside for gold. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 2026. We still are having to use this 5 millennia old commodity money like that. We still have to run to gold. And this,
And despite that, you still think that we're still in the future you'd only see like a 2x on Bitcoin, even though institutions are slowly accumulating more individuals with volatility
Well,
through borders.
I think I said 2 to 10. I mean, I think I'll
Okay.
probably see $1 million BTC in my lifetime. It's just like,
Okay.
gold had one of its best years ever. It still was only up 30%. Like in crypto
Silver,
terms, that's
too.
like barely a pump, like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, when you get to be huge, and think about this, like the bigger an object, the more force it requires to move. Like it's a lot easier to run, a meme coin from, $5 market cap to 5 million than it is to run Bitcoin from 1 to 2 trillion or 2 to 4 trillion, right? Like it takes a lot more capital.
A lot of capital, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think this would be good for Bitcoin. I don't know if it's the case. I know some people disagree with this. I think Jeff Park at ProCap disagrees with this. Thinks that you'll have a spot up, vol up future where volatility increases. I'm of
Mm.
the view that you'll see volatility decline, that you have been seeing it decline, and that's good because when volatility is lower, you can allocate more to your position. That's how it.
And yet
Yeah.
we're still so close coming from the October 10th event where we saw the biggest crypto crash in crypto history. We're so close to that. So how do you think we are getting closer to crypto market structural stability in that
Yeah.
sense?
I think that so I think I've been sufficiently bullish. People understand that I'm bullish Bitcoin fundamentally and longer term. I am
We need that
concerned
energy
about
though.
this, but I am concerned about this year. Here's the but, right? Like let me pivot here. Like we put out, for example, our predictions report, and I declined explicitly to put a 2026 prediction on Bitcoin. I said 2026 was too chaotic to predict. And
Wow.
I think
Oh wow.
you could easily see like 55 or 60K BTC like dollars price for Bitcoin this year. You could also see a new all-time high. If you look at options markets, they're pricing basically an equal likelihood of 50K or 250K a year. Like that's how big a spread the market has for where we'll trade. And in my view, like you're in a downtrend right now. This is just a fact. I
Mm.
wish it weren't true, but like Bitcoin is trading below its 50-week moving average. And every single the prior 3 bull markets where that average existed, which is the prior 3, every time it lost the 50-week, it retraced all the way to the 200-week every single
But
time.
we stay bullish. I mean, I'm looking at the chat right now and I see a lot of people saying like bullish BTC. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I am
Yeah,
too. But I'm just
you
saying,
have to be a
I think if you're
permabull.
long term, you should look to possible downside this year is a good time to enter because the reality is like I think unless you retake that 50-week, which is I don't know, call
Mm.
it 100K, we need like right now, we could even run to 100 from we're at 90, like we could run up to 100. That would make total sense. Be great. If we don't flip that to support and hold it, and then we're probably coming back down again. I don't know that
And
it
would
doesn't mean
you?
we'd nuke to 60. I'm just saying like
Yeah.
Bitcoin isn't in a
People would love to
clear
see
bullish
Bitcoin
uptrend
at
right now.
60. People
I
would
would love
love
to
to
be
see it. I
buying
don't know
it.
if we're gonna. I
Yeah.
don't know if we're gonna get that. But so we've talked about Bitcoin. We've talked about stable coins. What are the other main narratives that we're gonna be seeing in crypto this year?
Yeah, I love DeFi. I think blue chip DeFi. I don't know what that means exactly, but the battle tested apps that do swaps and lending, which are the 2 main apps in DeFi, right? Trading and lending, and you've got a variety, obviously, of flavors across both of those. But like, there's frankly a bunch of different players in both of those spaces that have really proven that they can, the Aves, the Morphos, the Hyperliquids, the Uniswaps, like there's a bunch of them that are frankly great. They've weathered huge market downturns and operated perfectly, right? Like, so to me, a big question is, can we get, so it's DeFi and RWAs or DeFi and tokenization. These things are great, but mostly we're just using them to do cryptos, right? And let's be real, outside of a couple like Bitcoin or top coins, most of the crypto stuff you can trade in DeFi is not that good, right? It's meme coins or it's pure speculation. What if we could get these high quality apps to have more useful assets? So can we
You mean like
bring
equities?
yeah, securities
I
is
mean,
a big one. I'm super
fees are
interested.
Tokenized
expensive,
stocks.
so
Tokenized
fees are
stocks.
too high. Fees are
Yeah,
way
I
too
get
high.
it.
It's better to trade on IB on other platforms
Well,
at this point.
this is one of the strangest things about it. Like everyone knows that tokenized securities is a good idea. All of TradFi totally agrees. We all basically say if we were to rebuild the capital markets from scratch, we would obviously use blockchains for that. However, we already have this existing stock market stuff, IB, Fidelity, whatever, Goldman, wherever. Not just that, Cash App. I can buy stocks in Cash App. Like, why would I need, like, the problem is it needs to be 10x better. So it's like, and it's not clear yet whether it will be. It certainly isn't yet. I'm better off buying a stock on, CharlesSchwab.com than on, a DEX right now for sure. Like, it's like, but we want the ability to try, and I think 2026 will be the year you see a lot of innovation and attempts at finding out the answer to that question. Does it make sense? One of the reasons that I think it does and that I like is, again, what I mentioned about the DeFi apps. Like, there are products and ways of trading or borrowing and lending that do not exist in TradFi, products IB cannot offer, right? That crypto can, and I'd really like to see what the overlap between tokenized securities and DeFi applications looks like, and I think you're going to see a lot of progress on that in 26. The SEC is very supportive of allowing and calling for it. Chair Paul Atkins is saying he wants to move all financial markets on chain. Like he's saying that, right? So I think you'll see a lot of that's a very interesting narrative for me in 26 where that lands. I agree. It's not totally obvious that like we need tokenized, but we're going to try and we're going to find out how much demand there is because they're going to let us try. I think it's totally fair to let us try. And if it's not good, it's not going to be good. I'm not going to force it. I love U.S. capital markets. I'm not going to force the NASDAQ to change what it's doing, right? I'm just saying, like, let us try, though. I think you're going to see a lot of attempts at that.
Let the finance bros have their weekends.
Yeah.
No more
There you
24/7
go.
trading.
Yeah,
in
it's
funds.
There you go.
that's coming.
We're
That's
all
gonna
going to
be
turn
an
into
Inspired by
like
crypto.
skeletons traders.
Yeah. I got
Speaking
some other
of,
ones too, but you let me know. I got some other narratives as well we can talk about.
oh yeah, okay. Well, okay. Speaking of maybe coming back from the dead a bit, guys, it looks like we got the narrative a little bit mixed up for Zcash. There's been some AI slop going around. So Mert just put out this tweet about an hour ago. He says TLDR, the foundation entity behind Zcash wallet just transitioned into a labs entity. So less politics, more shipping. He's like, you guys fell for some mass AI slop. So I guess apparently they just moved to another entity, and it was FUD to liquidate the market. So they need to liquidate the longs, and hence why we saw a 20% crash. So this is what the information that I'm getting from my different sources. Do your own research. But if that's the case, that is quite interesting. That is quite interesting. Could be an interesting time to enter for me personally, if that's true. I do think it's a quite interesting use case. But okay, well, Mert to the rescue. Thanks, Mert, for bringing that up. Yeah, we can go back and stop sharing.
Don't tell him that you started this with like breaking news. Mert has tweeted that. That'll just go to his head. You know, that's probably the nicest thing anyone's ever said about it. He'd be so
well,
happy
I
to hear
felt
you say
bad
that.
because we were kind of throwing him under the bus earlier on the show. So I feel like I was like, to be
I
fair,
mean, he's
he did just
undeniably
clarify.
the face of Zcash at some point. At
Yeah,
this
I mean, he
point.
made
Right.
himself. It's so
Yeah.
funny. I mean,
He
and by the
will.
way, Helios is a great company separately. I like Mert a lot. I'm just making fun of him because, like, him being promoted as breaking news is like probably his favorite thing ever. You know.
Well, he's done quite well himself. I mean, we were just talking about the algorithms earlier. Algorithms suck, but he seems to find a way to
It's so true.
break into it. I was like, okay, do you have an in with Elon? No, just
I don't know
kidding.
what it is. You're totally right though. He's done really well 25 on
Yeah.
on his feed. Look, I think the Zcash thing is quite interesting. It you know, one of the interesting things to me is that it wasn't the result of some like big government crackdown on privacy that had Zcash finally pump after all these years, which is what you would have assumed would be the catalyst to make privacy coins a big thing again. But I think everybody rightly knows that, dude, even for again, privacy is not illegal, right? And by the way, obfuscating the origin of funds is not even money laundering unless the origin was crime. You're totally allowed to just, if you want to be a crazy person and blow out all your cash into 50 different bank accounts, you're totally allowed to do that. Like, there's nothing illegal about privacy, right? And I think people realize this. And not just that, there's actually incredibly mundane reasons why you want privacy. Like a business doesn't want to have their entire balance sheet or all of their supply orders to their vendors public all the time. Like, that's totally normal. And I think especially in a world of, you know, increasing AI, like people are going to really start to realize that privacy really isn't weird. It's totally important. And, you know, I'd like to see more privacy come to crypto. I will say, you know, Bitcoin is a lot better for privacy now, obviously, than people think. Obviously, you know, if you really need to be private, if you're an activist.
So maybe Venezuela does have that.
Well, I was saying, like, yeah, if you really need privacy, like, be cautious using Bitcoin. Like, if it's, you know, if you're an activist in an authoritarian regime or something, like, be cautious. But, you know, Bitcoin is a UTXO based blockchain, which is significantly more private than like the vast majority of other account based blockchains. Like Ethereum is a privacy nightmare if you don't take significant steps. You send one person USDC from your wallet, they can see your entire transaction history. That's not actually true if you use Bitcoin carefully. So it's something to pay attention to, like, because one of the arguments I haven't liked from the Zcash crowd is that Bitcoin needs to be more private, and I just don't think that's true. It doesn't mean there's not a good argument. Like that shouldn't be the argument for Zcash. Like Bitcoin's actually quite private if you know how to use it properly, separately. But obviously,
Yeah.
We've asked this question to David on our last show, like, why is Zcash just chosen one as opposed to Monero?
Well,
your opinion?
Zcash, I think, is probably a bit more business friendly because you can shield or unshield, whereas Monero is private by default, which, private by default could be good as well. But, it's kind of more palatable to a business to say, look, let's have them private. But if the government gets mad, I can always unshield it for that, show them what I did, right? Like there's a little bit more like of a compliance capability, I think, in a Zcash than in a Monero. But I don't know. It could also just be, the cultural communities. Like I'm not that tied in with the Zcash or Monero communities in 2026. I'm not quite sure. But whatever it is, so much of investing, not just in crypto, but even in everything, is about community and it's about the culture of the investment. And Zcash has resonated clearly.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, we're wrapping up soon at time. So this has been so awesome, Alex. Last few questions. Internet capital markets. What is your take on them for 2026? Do you think we're going up to something like $2 billion market cap? Like that's a pretty wild prediction here, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
what do you think this
well,
could look like in terms of like business models and scaling beyond speculation?
yeah, it's not quite clear exactly what this means, internet capital markets, right? I mean, I think if we're being concrete, it's a marketing slogan the Solana community invented, right? You could say that Ethereum used to have the future of finance, remember? And they joke it's the future of France, right? Like it's kind of the same idea as far as I understand it. But I would say like one of the biggest themes for 2026 is the great convergence between traditional capital markets and crypto capital markets. It's very clear there is a convergence. It started with the ETFs. Crypto kind of gave Bitcoin and ETH first, and now a bunch of others, to TradFi in the form of ETFs in exchange for higher prices. But they're going to have to give something to us. And this is where Tokex is one instantiation of this. There's going to be a push and pull. The line between TradFi and crypto is blurring. And I think you're going to find crypto become more traditional and TradFi become more decentralized. And the big debate and fight and competition in the marketplace is where that line ends up. I'm confident you're going to find traditional capital markets become more decentralized. The question is how much, right? Like, how much are we going to get to
Tokenize as well, like
tokenize?
everything
Yeah,
on chain.
integrate. How much? We don't know the answer to that. I think internet capital markets is a great slogan for this question. And like I said, I mean, I think you're going to see more traditional assets using blockchains, and I'm hoping that when they do, they are public permissionless blockchains and not, private federated sidechains run by corporations. Like that's one of the fights, though. Like where are people going to use? Are they going to use, Tempo and Canton, or are they going to use Ethereum and Solana? And I think there are really good reasons, not just because we like permissionless blockchains, but also policy reasons why you want a more credibly neutral, decentralized base layer platform. And so, that's what we advocate for. Like, I mean, we tokenized Galaxy stock on Solana, right? We didn't do it in a private, distributed ledger technology. Like we did it on, and we were open to doing it on Ethereum too. Like the only ones I don't want to do it on are centrally controlled, like corpo chains. And I think that's a really interesting, the corpos versus the permissionlesses will also be an interesting battle. You'll see some progress on in 26. That'll be interesting.
I mean, we've seen the one that's been adopted by LVMH has been discontinued right now. There's a lot of these projects that at the end they need, resources to keep going. So it's definitely going to be an interesting, decision that companies will have to make for themselves. Whether they want to, set up a whole new department that will be maintaining, because it does take a lot of resources, whether it's, development, security, all that. And then obviously, popularizing that technology and also making sure that the team understands what they're dealing with, and then actually, choosing between that and then going from an already established chain. I think that's definitely something. So far, the ones that have been doing it internally, a lot of them, the most popular one was definitely the one from LVMH and these fashion groups, but apparently they've discontinued. I do have one last question actually, because we've obviously this is an OKX show, and exchanges have a really big part in moving crypto markets, and especially in terms of like adoption, and they're often like the first point of contact with retail. And we've seen obviously in the few years ago with FTX what the crash and the way it impacted the market. And from there on, obviously, there's been a series of events that pushed other participants like OKX to have a proof of reserves and be very transparent and compliant. So I was wondering, like, what do you see? Because we've spoken about DeFi, which is a part, obviously, of, for example, like OKX. I was wondering, what's your point of view on exchanges and how they're going to play into this future of crypto, right, that we're moving towards?
Yeah, exchanges are still incredibly important in crypto. They'll continue to be. They've been incredibly sticky, even with the movement of TradFi into crypto. The Binance, the OKX, the Coinbases are still incredibly important, and I think their importance is growing. I'd love to point out OKX has been a great exchange for a long time, one of the most progressive and thoughtful in terms of handling Bitcoin, also one of the most robust proof of reserves that OKX produces. So I've always respected and loved that about OKX. And I think it's more likely that you see growth in TradFi going onto crypto exchanges than like the TradFi exchanges successfully cannibalizing crypto, right? So you're more likely, I think, to see stocks trade on OKX than you are to see cryptos trade on NASDAQ, for example. So I think they're very well positioned. Many of them are effectively the super apps of crypto, right? OKX has added a whole bunch of DeFi functionality. Coinbase has done that. Binance has had BNB chain. They're doing both centralized and decentralized things. Also, I think you're going to see exchanges be really big for capital formation. So even though you can launch a token in totally decentralized way on crypto, you're going to see companies go public on the blockchain and distribute through the OKXs, the Binances, the Coinbases. So they're going to sell new issued securities. I believe you'll see be sold to users of exchanges. And I mean that in a positive way. Like you've got, I don't know how many users OKX has or Binance has or whatever, but let's go, you got millions of accounts that are onboarded KYC.
50 million? Actually, no, I'm sorry. 80 million between the exchange and our decentralized trading platform.
OKX, that's a massive business. I mean, there aren't many businesses in the world that can say they have 80 million customers. And that's if you're an issuer, right? Like if I'm a public company and I want to sell stock to the public, like it might actually, I think 2026 might be the year that you find that it's easier to sell them through crypto exchanges than through other existing methods. So I think you're going to see them become more important. Crypto exchanges continue to be very important. I think their importance is going to grow, not diminish in 2026.
I'm excited. I'm actually really excited about this year. Yeah, there's so much happening and things just growing in a way. Definitely not the crypto future that we've imagined, especially if you've come in the early days of crypto, but still you have to go with the flow and embrace the future and embrace innovation, embrace whatever is coming and make the best out of it. And it's
always exciting. You're right. It's never what you expected in crypto, but that's why it's so fun.
Yeah, and we're still here, so
not just that, we're back. We're not just here, we are back in 2020.
We are back.
Top Signal Live, baby.
Let's
go. Here for it. All right, well, thank you so much, Alex, for coming on the show today. Really appreciate your time and your incredible takes and insights on the market and narratives and regulation and just so many different key signals that we should be paying attention to. So that was so thoughtful and really appreciate your time and definitely hope to have you back on the show at some point. And everyone, thanks for tuning in and watching. We are normally on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We had a little bit of some schedule flexibility move around this week, but we'll see you back next Wednesday with a very special guest. Going to be pretty epic. So I'm really hyped. We'll be announcing that next week. So stay tuned. Alex, thank you again. Kamsky, thank you as always. Happy
so excited
to
be
all.
back. Yeah, we're back
Yeah.
on Top Signal every Wednesday.
And may this never be a top in your life. There will always be a new all-time high.
Yes.
Here for that. All right. Thanks all. We'll play us out.
Bye,
Thanks.
everyone. Bye, Alex. Bye, Elizabeth.